Good morning, students. This is KV Ramesh, Anthropology faculty, and you know that we have been discussing previous year questions in Anthropology at Lukmaan IAS Academy. And today's our session is on previous year question. The question is, so discuss the consequences of Neolithic agriculture or Neolithic domestication. So which came into being in UPSC 2018 for 15 marks. So if this is the question, what we should write to get more marks for this question? So first of all, you should remember here. So the examiner is focusing on consequences. First to strike out that keywords, the consequences of Neolithic revolution or Neolithic domestication. So here consequences means we have both negatives as well as the positives with respect to emergence of agriculture as well as domestication of animals. So both things we should cover. So for this question, the structure, you should follow general structure to get more marks. The first element here is, so general introduction of Neolithic features. So Neolithic time. So time period of Neolithic, regions of development of this domestication of plants and animals, and third one, types of plants and animals domesticated in various regions along with their time periods. So this you should introduce in the first paragraph. And main answer or the body of the answer should be, he mentioned only consequences. Consequences means we should presume that both positive consequences as well as negative consequences we should write as a main answer. Here you should take that specific archaeological sites as evidences for their for our answer. So evidence giving is the most important to get more number of marks. So first of all, so this is the question, and here we can see that, so that Neolithic phase which was started later time of Mesolithic, or else the domesticated features, so domesticated of animal features, so which was roots in Mesolithic period itself, but by the time of Neolithic there was a well established domestication of animals in all the continents as well as domestication of the plants. Both plants and animals were fully domesticated in all parts of the continents, but their seeds were present during the time of Mesolithic. So it is after the 10,000, so after the 10,000 years ago, so after the end of ice age, the cold climate got ended, the present modern day of climate has begun in the form of Holocene period. That means the flora and fauna which was emerged later end of ice age is similar even today, because we are all in the part of Holocene, same climate, same vegetation, same flora and fauna. So here you can see that when it comes to crop domestication, so Neolithic involves two types of domestications, crop domestication and second one is animal domestication. So first we will give evidences of Neolithic domestications. So when it comes to the first place on the earth, first discovered or invented agriculture which belongs to Fertile Crescent, the modern day Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, these are all the places. The first Fertile Crescent, and later followed by Ethiopia and Shahul, this is sub-Sahara regions as well as West African region. So next one is northern China and southern China. So two regions, and here you can see that New Guinea. And when it comes to the New World, so eastern US and Mesoamerica region and the South America, Andes region and Amazon region. So these were the regions earliest domestication of crop occurs. So in the Near East, especially Fertile Crescent, two types of prominent crops were domesticated: wheat, barley, and pea. So next one, China, northern China, that is millets. Southern China, Yangtze River Basin, the rice domesticated. So when it comes to the central Mexico, so central Mexico, here you can see that corn and beans, these crops were domesticated. When it comes to the south central ends, here you can see that potato and manioc, these are all the crops domesticated. When it comes to eastern United States, here sunflower, maize was domesticated. In sub-Saharan Africa, these regions, Sahul and West Africa region, sorghum. So these crops were domesticated. That you should introduce in the first paragraph. So next one, so when it comes to the animal domestication, so Eurasia region, especially Eurasia region, dog was domesticated. So next one, when it comes to the Middle East, so these regions are Fertile Crescent as well as West Asia, these regions were domesticated by animals of sheep, goat, pig, cow, camel, chicken, as well as duck. When it comes to the Central Asia, horse was first time domesticated and two-humped camel were domesticated. And when it comes to the Northern America, turkey, the turkey chicken was domesticated. Southern America, llama and alpaca, these are all the various animals domesticated in different continents. So this is the introduction. So now, so if you want, I gave all the animals, the purpose of their domesticated. Some are pets, some are livestock purpose, some are from work purpose. So if you observe that horse was domesticated for the purpose of transportation. So for the purpose of transportation, and for this is the way. Alpaca is a livestock. So the animals, the work purpose, livestock purpose, pet purpose, that we will see. So next one, so now the body of the question. So the body of the question. So the body including, first you should introduce positive consequences. So positive consequences means here the nomadic hunters and collectors became sedentarian people. So these sedentarian communities, with invention of domesticated plants and animals, it became surplus food producing areas. So the food gatherer, so gatherer became producer. So these producer producing more surplus food. So thereby what would happen? Specialized division of labor came into being. So for say in one season, so they cultivate a crops and this could be eaten for next 2 seasons. That means there are so much of leisure time available for these people because of the surplus food availability. So this surplus food availability time or leisure time, they dedicated their energy to create of new kind of tools and technologies, thereby specialized people came into being. The division of labor came into being. So this surplus food, division of labor, that led to the emergence of large scale sedentarian villages, and villages grown into towns, towns are grown into cities. To control this higher population density, new kind of political organizations, that is territorial based states, territorial based kingdoms, or territorial based chiefdoms. So this is the way chiefdoms became, so kingships, kings became emperors, and these emperors finally became civilized people, urban areas. So now we can see that technological invention. So technological invention, generally we can say that the basketry making to collect this whatever the crop remains, and wheel to transport these goods from this field, agricultural fields, to the home or trade purpose, and wheel is also used for making pottery. So this is the way technological invention preceded, and later invention of metallurgy also. So the divinized or specialized labor, they later created metallurgy. So the bringing of copper, bronze, and finally iron and etc. So transportation purpose, once the wheel came into being, that surplus food, and different regions produces different kind of diversified foods. These foods are exchanged between these regions through transportation or emergence of trade. So they were conducted internal and external trade. So finally emergence of ancient civilizations such as Mesopotamia and So next one, Indus Valley civilization, China civilization, Mexico civilizations, and Inca civilizations. There are more ancient civilizations were emerged, and especially Egypt civilization. They were created to build these pyramids. Pyramids got built by these Egyptian civilized people because of surplus food, agriculture, intensive agriculture, and everything. So these are all the positive consequences. So positive consequences we can understood in the form of population density, technological improvements, as well as complexity in the form of economy, polity, religion, and everything. So that is positive consequences. When it comes to the negative consequences, and everybody thought that the revolution of Neolithic, that is agriculture invention, is always positive for the human beings. But there are a lot of negative consequences which emerged because of food production. So food production led to the many negative consequences on human populations. The first one we can see ecologically or environmentally. So before invention of agriculture, so humans lived in the form of hunters and gatherers. That means whatever nature gives them, simply they collect those plant stuff as well as the animal stuff. But once they got settled cultivators, it requires modification of the surrounding environment. So which caused change in the land use patterns. The forests were cleared to convert into agriculture fertile lands. And so invention of irrigation as well as digging of canals leads to the erosion. That means generation onwards continuous usage of the same land. That leads to decline of the fertility of the land. So this irrigation and canal digging that led to the increased erosion as well as increased salinity of the soil. So these are all the negative consequences. So when it comes to the socio-economic negative consequences, gradual development of inequalities in the form of social, economic, political, and etc., which led to the social stratification. So social stratification means inequalities with respect to the privileges in the form of social status, economic status, religious status, everywhere. And when it comes to the gender inequality, the first time, so humans spent nearly 98% of their humankind history in the form of hunters and collectors. So here the division of labor was men do generally hunting the animal or more laborious activities. So women also they were equal contributor in the form of collecting plant stuff and etc. That means here women can survive. So women can survive economically without having help of males. That means she can bring her own food for her survival. That means the dependency of female on the males is very, very minimal during the process of hunting and gathering. But once that subsistency got changed into agrarian, here the men contribution is more and women contribution is less. That led to the dependency of female over the male. So here the direct consequence is reducing their status. So this is gender inequality. And finally, so emergence of wars. So once that civilizations, kingdoms are came into being, and because of increased population density, they always eyeing on the neighboring areas people to encroach their fertile lands. So all the ancient time wars, or say even medieval world time also, there were wars. These wars are always to extend their land by grabbing the fertile areas. So the wars was the direct consequences of this intensive agriculture or invention of the agriculture. So these are all the environmental or socio-economic inequalities or changes. And when it comes to the health consequences, the demographic and health consequences, so nutritional standards were got declined because of invention of agriculture. So though the quantity of food availability got increased because of surplus food, the diversity declined. For say, during the hunters and gatherer time, the people have the access of more than 2000 above species of plant and animal. So more than 200 species of plant and animal. That means they had food basketry of more than this 200 species. But once they entered into the agriculture mode of production, So only 4-5 items, 4-5 for say wheat, barley, sorghum, only 4-5 species available for them for their consumption. The crops reduced, the crop diversity reduced, the animal diversity reduced. That means the dependency of few species of plant and animal, that declining in the diversities by moving hunting and gathering phase to the agriculture phase. So our nutritional standards are inferior than the hunting and gathering stage. So thereby imbalanced food we have been taking since the emergence of agriculture. So next, these diet of Neolithic we called as cereal based diet. So which consumption reduced our life expectancy as well as stature. So this is direct consequences. So and also increased infant mortality rate. And also you can see emergence of infectious diseases in the form of salmonella, influenza, so tuberculosis, cholera, diarrhea, so malaria, measles. There are so many diseases we can trace. They were direct consequences of the increased population density as well as nearness of the hosts. So nearness of the animals, which are the hosts for various pathogens, viruses, bacteria, and etc. So here you can see that. So because of domesticated animals, so this is the village. So this is the village. So various houses are there. These houses also have animals. That animals and human beings lived together. But earlier you can see during the hunting and gathering time. So hunting and gathering time, generally men hunt the animal. That means they kill the animal. So once they killed this animal, they roasted this meat before consumption. That means all the pathogens in the wild animals died in this fired roasting process. But here the livestock was reared along with the humans. That means the hosts which having pathogens, they were also surviving along with the human beings. That means the direct contact of humans and animals, they cohabitately living together. The easily entry of these pathogens present in the animals entered into human beings, and a new kind of infections in the form of salmonella, influenza, thyroid, as well as cholera, diarrhea, malaria, everything had entered into human population. So this is called increased infection diseases among human population, which was the direct consequences of domestication of plant and animal. So next, so not only these infection diseases, there are certain chronic non-infection diseases also came into being, as well as inflammatory degenerative diseases such as obesity, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular diseases. They were the result of invention of agriculture. And not only that, nutritional deficiencies in the form of vitamin deficiencies. Earlier they had 200 above varieties of plant and animal, through which they are deriving all essential amino acids, vitamins, as well as minerals, even fats, proteins, and everything. That means all the required things are satisfied by the diversity of foods. But here few foods which are deficient of minerals, vitamins, that led to the vitamin oriented deficiencies, as well as iron deficiency led to the anemia first time entered into the human beings, and mineral disorders. So that means lack of sufficient minerals, they affecting the formation of bones and weakening of the bones, that is osteoporosis and etc. So rickets disease and etc. And finally tooth cavities in the form of wear and tear. So here tooth were heavily studied. So tooth was heavily studied. So tooth cavities. So this is the tooth. Here you can see that. So earlier they eat roasted meat. So roasted meat consumption required strong jaw. So multiple time of chewing that meat, that requires strong jaw. But here, because of invention of agriculture, so these cereals after cooking, they became soft tissue. Here less pressure is applied on the chewing, thereby our jaw size got reduced. At the same time, this soft tissue, so which is pasted on the back side and the whatever the teeth in between gaps, so that gaps are attached with this kind of soft tissue of food made with cereals. So this is the soft tissue or food substances which attracted more bacteria, so which causes this bacterial kind of cavities. And this is the way dental deformities, dental diseases first time entered into human being because of cereal based food consumption. And earlier the teeth size is very strong and large, as well as more chewing of that roasted meat that led to the less bacterial diseases. But later this soft food eating leads to the more bacterial disorders. So these are all the negative consequences. So you should including all these positive and negative consequences, and you should add more number of sites. So all these things were observed comparing Natufian culture. So when they excavated skeletons from Natufian sites, which belongs to the transition of Mesolithic and Neolithic, they observed there are skeletal deformities, tooth deformities. The skeletons were early in age, that indicates immature death and everything. This kind of archaeological evidences in the form of sites we should quote to get more marks for this kind of question. So this is all about for today. So tomorrow I will come with a new previous year question. Then we will meet. Thank you very much.